This week in Louisiana agriculture,
I'm AJ Sabine. The Port of Greater Baton Rouge has selected a tenant for its Port Allen grain elevator. I'll have the details coming up.
Does the deal that brings Louis Dreyfus to the Port of Greater Baton Rouge make the grade with Louisiana farmers? I'm Avery Davidson with that story ahead.
And the Department of Agriculture and Forestry is pumping millions of dollars into the state's economy. We'll tell you what it means to you. Hello, I'm Michael Dana. Thanks so much for joining us. In a vote of 14-0, Louis Dreyfus Commodities will now take over as the next operator of the grain elevator at the Port of Greater Baton Rouge. As This Week in Louisiana Agriculture's AJ Sabine explains, commissioners chose a new tenant despite a last-minute offer from Cargill to keep control of the elevator they've had for the last decade.
For the last 14 months, Louisiana grain farmers have wanted a new operator of the grain elevator leased to Cargill by the Port of Greater Baton Rouge. At this meeting of the Port Commission, farmers got their wish. In a unanimous vote, the Commission picked Louis Dreyfus Commodities to operate the Port Allen facility. Farm Bureau President Ronnie says the choice represents a huge win for Louisiana agriculture.
It gives Dreyfus a presence on the Mississippi River. We've got Bungie, we've got Zeno, we've got Cargill with elevators along the river, and bringing in a new competitor, a new person to be involved, it's going to really help the whole movement of grain along the river. It gives us another option there.
Cargill tried to sway the commission with a last-minute 20-year extension of its original offer. However, for Commissioner John Tilton, the Dreyfus plan represented more jobs for the port.
The Dreyfus proposal is dependent on a two-shift operation coming in, which will double the number of employees they have to about 42 to 45 employees. That's really important as far as wages in the local economy, the way the unemployment situation is right now.
An LSU Ag Center economic impact study, which favored the Dreyfus proposal, may have sealed the deal. The governor's office, Louisiana Economic Development, and Dr. Mike Strain with the Louisiana Department of Ag and Forestry commissioned the study. The study found that the Dreyfus proposal promised better prices to farmers. Anderson says a new tenant at the port will increase demand for Louisiana grain.
One thing is they're going to increase the volume of the put through there. That elevator was built some 55 years ago. The maintenance has been less than it should have been on the elevator. There are lots of upgrades and stuff that need to be done. Dreyfus had in their proposal many upgrades that will increase the flow through of that elevator. So as they increase the amount of grain that goes through there, it gives us an opportunity to bring more of our grain and blend it and put it on these Panamax vessels that they're planning on loading to send wherever.
Port of Greater Baton Rouge Executive Director Jay Hardman says both proposals benefited the port.
It's been tough, especially when you have two good companies and two strong proposals, which we're very fortunate of.
Dreyfus could have control of the grain elevator just in time for the May wheat harvest. At the port, I'm AJ Sabine for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Now, officials with Louis Dreyfus tell us that the transition from Cargill to them has already begun. The Cargill lease on the grain facility at the Port of Greater Baton Rouge expires on March 31st.